It's time for the Chips and Salsa Show.
The only show about Latinos for Latinos. And did we mention Latinos?
It's the Latísima.
Latinos come in all flavors, shapes, and sizes. You don't have to be Latino to enjoy chips and salsa.
People love chips and salsa.
Hey, guess what time it is? It's time for another edition of the Chips and Salsa Show, New Mexico. I am one of your co-hosts, Alice Lara, and a guest co-host with me today over here on my far left, but certainly not left, is...
Hello, everybody. I'm Joey Garza, also known by Joey Cypher. Y'all can call me whatever.
Oh, you're giving me too much leeway there, Joey. Yeah.
Joey Cypher.
And you've often heard me talk about him because he's usually behind the camera, behind the audio in the production studio.
Yeah.
So we're gonna talk to him in just a couple minutes, and then also the big guest of our show, the star of our show,
Hello.
is Dave Tofsted, who is running for New Mexico State Senate District Number 36. Welcome to the Chips and Salsa Show.
Thank you. How are you doing?
Great, pleasure to have you on.
All right.
So typically we're gonna talk a little bit of national politics, state
Yeah.
politics, and then get into local and focus on Dave. Is it calling you Dave? I mean, it's
Yeah,
David.
Dave.
Dave's
It's
cool.
Dave.
All right, Dave is here. Okay, for you boomers, you know what I'm talking about. But I do want to first kind of give you a little more intro and get you to know Joey a little bit more. I've had the pleasure, been doing the show now over a month, right?
Yeah. I think this is our 12th or 13th show recorded here. Yeah, so we've gotten to know each other a little bit more. I'm the owner at Oregon Mountain Productions. My wife and I went to school for sound, audio engineering, learned video editing in the meantime, and so kind of put all the pieces together. I do a little bit of audio engineering for some of the local hip-hop groups here in town, some country singers, some ska bands. We kind of do it all. We have our podcast studios we see, and then we have a recording studio in the back as well. So we kind of do it all. We put the magazine together, as you guys have seen in the previous episodes. So yeah, we do a little bit of everything. So thanks for having me today. I appreciate it.
Well, you really do. And Joey and Haley, too, his wife, who own the studios, I've been quite impressive because even though they are millennials, okay, you boomers, come on, we got to recognize millennials. They know a lot about conservative politics. They are conservative.
Yes. Yeah, I'm Latino, I'm a registered Republican, conservative, and we just try to stay up with the times and try to be woke, as Zeke would say.
Yeah.
A different kind of woke.
Oh, wait.
Different kind of woke, for sure. Oh, wait.
Other kind of woke.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for being here today. You know, maybe let's just take care of a little business, because the cool thing, too, is we always talk about your wonderful magazine. And so go ahead, do a little quick commercial.
Yeah, so if you haven't already, go ahead and check out the new magazine is out, Flavors of the Desert. You've probably seen me also we do Munchy Friday videos for a couple local restaurants, so check us out on Facebook at Flavors of the Desert. We have our new publication out. The first one has been out for a couple months. This one just came out. We highlight a lot of the local businesses. Everything's local here, Las Cruces, Southwest. We're trying to expand a little bit more. Tacos and Shalas is in there. We have Tacos Al Vagon is in there. We have a lot of cool different spots. This next one that we're going to be doing is going to be highlighting a lot of the food trucks here in Las Cruces and the Southwest. Cool. So if you guys are foodies, get out, check out the magazine. We have it at our dispensary, 1300 Al Paseo. It's called Purple Haven. We have it at Visit Las Cruces. We have it at the Corbett Center. The street team's been out at the farmers market passing them out. So if you see it out, grab you one. They are free. Check them out and check out some of the spots because they're for you guys. We also have a lot of recipes. We have a couple of my recipes in there, soup recipes. I'm a chef for about 20 years. So that's kind of where visiting the food establishments and critiquing and everything. So yeah, you guys check it out. Oh, we really appreciate all the feedback.
It's really a good magazine. I was just telling him before the show, I heard from my nephew through a text that he went and ate at Shalas, right?
Tacos and Shalas, yeah, they are wonderful.
Just couldn't say enough great things about that place. And I said, man, I've heard about that place through the magazine.
Yep.
I need to get over there. So, yeah.
Yeah,
good
get
job.
on down there. They're right off Commerce. If you like seafood, they have wonderful seafood. They get everything shipped overnight. One of the owners was telling us. And they have wonderful service. They treat you just as if you were at home. Everything is fresh, from like their coffee to their in-house margaritas to their shrimp, and like everything is really, really fresh and tasty, and it all comes together.
Super.
So.
It's not a food truck, right?
No. This is a restaurant right across the street from Sam's Club, right off of Commerce. And there used to be like an old restaurant down there. It was like a
Isn't the compas still down there?
the brick building. Yeah.
The firehouse or something.
Yeah. Right in that little plaza.
Yeah.
And they've been there for a couple years. The family, I believe, they're from here, but from Mexico as well. And they just introduce all the culture and flavors that they bring from down there. It's wonderful.
Excellent.
Nothing like that here in Las Cruces.
Great. Well, thank you again for helping me co-host today.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. It's going to be a great show. And just a reminder, so what we do is we record this on Monday afternoons. Today happens to be April Fool's Day.
Hey.
So we got this fool here, so sorry about that. But Joey's no fool. And then it'll be up usually by Tuesday morning, uploaded to our YouTube channel and also Rumble, which thank you, chipsters out there. And Dave, for you, if you didn't know, if you follow the show, you're a chipster or a chipstedo or a chipstera.
Okay.
Yeah, it's all good. We recognize the two genders.
Yeah.
We do. We do that here.
Just two.
Yes.
Okay.
That's all that I know about.
That's all I need, really.
That's right.
All right, so Dave, before we get into all your bio and everything, well, maybe, go ahead and introduce yourself. Give yourself a quick 1-2 minute bio. Then we'll kind of go through the headlines, and then we'll focus on your campaign. How does that sound like a plan?
Yeah, sounds like a plan.
All right. Tell the audience about yourself.
Well, so I come here from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania area. Half of my family lived in the Philadelphia area for the last 200 years.
Wow.
And so they go back as far before the Revolution, but I came out here with the U.S. Army. So
thank you for your service.
Yes, thank you for your service.
Well, it wasn't very much because I stayed out here with the U.S. Army. And when I was graduating from the class, they said, well, everybody's going into the Army except for this guy who's going to end up at White Sands Missile Range. But somehow they managed to find a physicist slot for me out here.
Wow.
And so I was with the Army Atmospheric Sciences Laboratory for the first 11 years, and then the name kept changing. But basically we did research for the Army on propagation through the atmosphere. They were worried about smoke and obscuration, so you couldn't see your target and things like that. So I worked in 25 different projects over a 36-year career, and then I graduated out to become a civilian, basically retiree.
Wow.
But along the way, I got a master's at NMSU in
Aggie.
EE, electrical engineering, and then a PhD in electrical engineering.
Wow.
So I was a little bit of a late bloomer because it took me till 2013 to get the PhD.
I don't know. You might be too knowledgeable to be running for office.
I don't know, but we learned a lot, and we know a lot about how the atmosphere works, and that's the thing that really drove the campaign, because what's going on today in terms of the solutions that are being proposed to fix climate change, and a lot of I'd say 80% of the people I worked with out there were like, no, this isn't happening. And these were people who are meteorologists, mathematicians, other physicists. So, it just, I don't know, it just didn't make sense to us. And it still doesn't make sense to a lot of us.
So you're going to have a lot to talk about with you. So family, you're married?
Married, second marriage for the last 20 years, so 22 years.
Wow.
So
congratulations.
Yeah.
So, and have two boys from the first marriage, and one is out in California in Burbank. He works for Netflix.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Wow.
That's cool.
And the other works in town here at Calculex. And that's an engineering firm that does work for Boeing and for Lockheed to do parts for these aircraft. They build replacement parts for them. So.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Good.
Cool.
Well, we'll focus on your campaign here in just a little bit, but I kind of we like to run through the headlines. And I know they can change really, really quick.
Oh, yeah.
So before the show, I was just jotting down some stuff. We've got plenty of things to talk about.
Yeah.
But to me, I watched the video of the Francis Scott Key Bridge collapsing.
Wow.
And I was freaked out about it, for sure.
Yeah. Well, I saw that video too, and it's like it broke here, and then this other piece comes just tipping over, it just broke apart and fell into the water.
Yeah, yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's sad. And then you looked at some video. They were taking video of part of the bridge, and you could see the rust that was on some of the parts that had twisted apart. So
Oh, I hadn't
You
seen
know,
that
Wow, I
yeah.
didn't
detail.
see that.
so there's some, I don't know. There may be structural issues with the bridge, but how do you end up with this freighter
I know.
that's colliding? It doesn't
Yeah.
have any power.
Yeah.
Had
How
a
does
lot
the
of
electric
questions.
system break down in it?
Yeah, there's a lot of
That's
questions for
something weird
sure.
about that.
And what were you talking about before the show, too?
Well, there are a lot of, like we said, there's a lot of things that come into play with it, right? And I mean, just from it going off course to the lights going out. But I think one of the major key points in this is now it shuts down that whole entire port, right?
Right.
And now we lose shipping. A lot of our batteries and hazardous material come on those cargo planes. I mean, on those cargo ships. A lot of it is diesel fuel that come through that. And that diesel fuel, they can't relocate through the tunnels. That has to come through the
Has
port.
to go that port. Wow.
Another major thing is our two fastest, most readiest ships come out from that port. And so if they sent, ships to the Red Sea from the Russia side, and we need to get out of that port immediately, and there are two fastest, most readiest ships coming out from that port, they're going to have a little bit of a time getting out if the port's closed, right?
They also said that 43% of the exports from the port are coal.
Coal.
Yeah,
A lot
heading
of
The
towards
coal's big,
India.
too.
Right.
So now there's issues with the coal supply.
Right.
So
It's I really didn't know too much about that bridge until it's not there anymore, right?
Right.
about the port itself,
Yeah,
right?
Yeah,
exactly,
yeah, yeah.
exactly. And then now, of course, there's a lot of criticism because Biden's saying, okay, and I understand the need to get that taken care of right away.
Sure.
But as far as costs and who's going to pay for it, there's questions there too. It's
Oh,
not going to
yeah.
be. It's going to be a lot of money.
Well, and here's the thing: Biden said, "Oh, we'll pay for it," but you're the president. You don't get to decide when the money gets spent
Come
and
on,
who
he's
gets
king.
to
He can do whatever he wants.
I mean, it sounds a little bit like he just thinks he's in charge, and there is no Congress, right?
Yeah.
I agree.
That's,
I agree.
That's not right.
Yeah.
Very, very relevant point. And then also, too, we were talking about how they're thinking about changing the name. Francis
yeah.
Scott Key, which, of course, Francis Scott Key, very important figure who wrote
And where was
anthem.
Fort McHenry? It was at Baltimore Harbor. It was protecting the Baltimore Harbor from invasion by the sea.
Wow.
So when he wrote his song, the lyrics, he was writing it out in the
Right.
harbor, right next to the bridge, probably. Wow.
They better not mess with
So
that.
don't
Yeah.
mess with the
They
name.
really don't
Yeah.
need to do that.
They
wow.
really don't.
Yeah.
It's just incredible. And then also, too, I'm not going to spend, all of our show on national headlines either, but I have to mention, too, my candidate, full disclosure, Trump 2024, he was in New York, and he attended, unfortunately, the cop's funeral. He was there, like
sad.
a president really should be.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Mr. Biden was there with Mr. Obama and Clinton, and they were doing, like a $25 million fundraiser or something.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, the optics, and part of me is like, fine, good, expose yourself. That's what you guys are.
Yeah.
And with a comedian as the MC asking him questions or something.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
So
that's
I don't know.
I had to mention that.
Yeah, and I think you put it best. They're just exposing themselves at this point, right? I mean, it's just, and I think Trump's doing the right thing, and he's out there, and he's where he should be, right? And
Well, he's going to
supporting-
have his own fundraiser this coming week, right? So he's probably going to make the money, but at least he honored the officer, right?
Yep.
Right.
Whereas
That's right.
Biden did not. So
And it wouldn't have taken very much. I mean, couldn't they have made it at a later time, or they could have even, I can see sometimes you have things and they're already taken care of, but
and the funeral
Wouldn't
was
have taken him
what
long
in
to
the
show up.
afternoon, and this other fundraiser was in the evening. So why couldn't you do both?
Right.
the left keeps trying to have. They say, well, yeah, we support our police. But it makes you really wonder when stuff like that happens. It's just so big in your face.
Right.
I'm uncomfortable with it.
Yeah.
Especially having lost our own officer here locally.
Yeah.
And then what were they saying? Oh, he wasn't an illegal alien. He was just just what was the term Biden used?
There's so many now unauthorized immigrant, newcomer,
Yeah, that was the new one.
A newcomer.
person who probably should have been innocent. You can make up your own. Make up your own. You're fine for it.
Yeah.
Oh,
It's wild.
so anyway, so national is. Did I miss anything else? We're going to talk national. Joey.
No,
Dave?
I think.
All right.
We did touch. We touched on the bridge out in Baltimore, but I don't know. Their one kind of slipped underneath. The bridge in Oklahoma got hit as well.
Oh, thank you for mentioning.
And that was damage. It wasn't taken down, but there was significant damage, and it was by a cargo ship as well.
That's very interesting.
Oklahoma?
Yeah. So it's kind of weird to see these bridges being, I don't know, targeted or damaged or, just kind of raises little red flags everywhere,
It really does.
Yeah.
It really does. Yeah, I just barely saw that headline. I'm so glad that you remembered it today.
Maybe it's designed to take the focus off East Palestine.
Makes you wonder.
Yeah, makes you wonder. It really does.
So here's Buttigieg. Is he out there? He's going to fix everything now. But when it came to East Palestine, he's like, couldn't be bothered to visit the site. Just sort of sweep it under the carpet.
And people had almost kind of forgot about Buttigieg. Here's why I call him Buttigieg. So my good friend, I don't know if you remember following James T. Harris in Phoenix, right?
Yeah.
Okay. But when that guy got that position, that's what he called him, Buttigieg. So I apologize, but that's what I'm used to. Okay. All right. And it's an affectionate term, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, affectionate.
Okay, we'll go with that.
Well, and it's related to the fact that Biden killed off these pipelines the first thing when he became president.
Right.
He did.
And then what did it do? It gave Warren Buffett, who's running BNSF, who gets to ship all the oil through the railroads, and then, of course, there's a rail derailment in Ohio.
Yeah.
So, the transporting your oil by rail car is not necessarily the best choice. You could have done it by a pipeline, but no, we can't do that because we got to keep Warren Buffett.
It's all like a big giant political movie, telenovela.
Yeah, it really is.
Just keep following it. It's crazy. All right, let's switch over to do a little bit of state stuff, and then we'll transition. I don't even like to use that word anymore. Into your campaign. Yeah. All right. So I saw this headline in the Piñon Post, and for those of you, if you're watching from Arizona or something, that's kind of like the conservative publication, and they follow all the state stories, but they are a conservative place.
And if you don't subscribe to Piñon Post, you really ought to.
You should.
That's my because I read them every day.
Yes,
that's a good read.
They do. Yeah. They do a good job. So this headline was radical leftists likely to be booted from the ballot amid the ballot petition lawsuit. So we just recently, a few weeks ago, all the candidates filed for their state offices. So evidently, and that's why I love that Joey's here and of course Dave's here, because I'm still relatively new to New Mexico politics. But evidently, this was a former Dreamer, New Mexico Senate hopeful Cindy Nava. She could be derailed by a legal challenge about the qualification of petitions. Evidently, the address was not correct, they found out. Wow. It was supposed to be in another county, and I'm thinking, that's wrong.
Yeah.
Can you fill out, that's kind of an important thing that you're running for office, right, Dave?
And when you got a voter registration card, it tells you your address on the card.
Right on the card.
Now, maybe it doesn't tell you. It may not include the county. So,
but you should know the county that you reside in, right?
County where you're living in.
I would hope.
Unless you're not actually living in that county.
True.
That's very
and that's
true.
A bigger red flag, right?
Oh, we're such a conspiracy theorist.
Well, probably am. Yeah.
And our good friend Audrey Trujillo, she's kind of spearheading this effort. And she's actually a contender for State Senate District 9 seat.
Wow.
So I thought that was really, really interesting. Wow. We're going to follow that story. And this is, I have to read this too. So Sandra Weschler, I'm probably mispronouncing her name, excuse me, but that's Nava's campaign manager. She was unhappy about this and said, over 250 Democratic voters in Senate District 9 signed petitions to put Cindy's name on the ballot. I'm sorry, but stuff happens. You got to get that petition correct. It's very important.
It's happened to a couple of our candidates too, and it's sad when that happens.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really is.
It really is.
But what's good for the goose is good for the gander.
Well,
That's
election
what
laws.
they say.
Yeah.
That's why you have them. And
So
you've got
that's
to
why
follow
you got them, and that you can't mess up that part of the. There's certain things you cannot mess up.
And
when
that's
you're
one of them.
Become a state senator or a state representative.
Kind of a big deal.
Yeah, it
Just a
is.
bit.
Absolutely.
Just a bit.
Just a little bit.
Yeah.
Great. Okay, before we go, we can. I do want to mention though the county logo. We talked about this last
Yeah.
week. I don't really have an update, except for those of you that have been following the show. I'm very concerned about this. They changed our county logo. Right now, it's a beautiful one since 1958.
Right.
It's got a conquistador
Yep.
on a horse. It's got all kinds of things that are New Mexico.
We don't know if he's a conquistador.
Oh, excuse me.
He's a guy on a horse.
You're right.
And he has a pole in his hand. Okay, he's not necessarily a conquistador. I don't see
you're
a
right.
big helmet on his head.
Right. But and then
But that's not good enough, right?
I should mention that when the contest rules, and Liz turned me on to this from last week, that for the contest they didn't want any people in the logo.
And that's crazy. That our county is named after
Don
a woman.
Anna.
Thank you.
It's not like Don and Don.
Yeah, Miss Anna.
is the female version of Don.
And a
Yeah.
great humanitarian. I
Right.
mean, that would have
Okay,
been,
yeah.
they could have put her on the logo,
Yeah.
and maybe I said, okay, well, maybe it's time for her to be recognized. I'd probably been okay with
Right.
that.
Yeah.
But it's just,
But
we're
no.
going to keep you posted.
Yeah.
I'm going to find out a little bit more about it. I've got someone who thinks that maybe there's still time to reverse it.
Wow.
I don't
Wow.
know. What's
Wow.
your opinion on that, guys? What do you think?
If it could be reversed, that'd be possible. But, when they do these things, it's like my way or the highway.
Yeah.
They really don't listen to the
Yeah.
public, right? They're not
They're real bosses.
responsive.
Well, and I'd mentioned this earlier when we were talking about, they had put it, I don't know, in the Community Watch or on one of the conservative pages, and it was on on Facebook, and they had announced, they had a picture of, the new logo and them announcing it, and they had the public's opinion on it, and the comments were, going crazy and saying, how could they spend so much money? They could have allocated the money to other things, and I think the public was unaware about it, and now it's bringing light, the public's starting to see it, and everybody's just like, well, why? Why did you change it? Why did you spend so much money? How come those dollars aren't going to something that we actually need? So I think just people weren't aware about it.
Well, and I didn't hear about it until I went over. They were doing it
Filing day.
on the day
Right.
that we were filing for office.
Right.
So I had not heard about it at all.
Yeah.
And the paper didn't have anything about it.
In all honesty, I'd forgotten about it. But that was back in November
Yeah.
when they voted for it.
Wow.
But Joey, you're right, and I haven't run across anyone who's like, "Oh no, I think that was good. I think they did a good job." Or
Yeah.
not one person.
No, not one person.
That finds out
Yeah.
about it. Have
Yeah.
you? No.
No, I haven't. So if you do see a post on Facebook with my name sharing it, I'm just getting the word out to everybody so they can see it. That's all it is.
It's true.
Is
It's
that
true.
another conspiracy theory? I don't know.
Well, as long as I've been following politics, I always thought, "Oh, that's crazy stuff. This is crazy stuff."
Yeah.
And anymore,
They'll
I'm
never
like,
do it,
Gotta
right.
wait and check out the story because it
Right.
could be true.
Right. You
and
never
they
know.
say, that can't possibly happen. They'd never be that dumb to do that. But then, there they go.
Yeah.
And how many thousands of dollars are we talking about?
Right.
Well,
Thousands.
and then I do have to say that I'm glad you mentioned that because I told you my friend and I went there during filing day and we asked, and the PIO, the public information officer, did say it was like $175,000, but also went on to tell us, but we really don't know because it's going to be done incrementally. So I think she was a little bit more honest with us than what we've seen.
Like
Yeah.
sweep it under the
Yeah.
rug as to the price.
That's what it seems like, right?
Yeah.
And the reason, too, is because Juan Garcia, head of the CCIA, Coalition of Conservatives in Action, said the Oñate, they changed from Oñate to Organ Mountain High School.
Right.
He said that he thought was under $1 million.
Right. I
And
remember
that
him
was a
saying
high school, right?
Yeah.
Under $1 million.
Like
Well, yeah,
seven-
they have to
good.
change logos on cars and
on the-
inside the
yeah.
buildings and
uniforms.
uniforms. And
Right.
That's just
Ridiculous. Ridiculous.
Wow.
So, okay. But we'll try to keep
Yeah.
you posted on that.
Yeah.
It's all good. Let's get on with the star of our show,
Hey.
Dave Tofsted. Woo! So Dave, as I mentioned, is running for state senate District number 36, and that happens to be my district. I was proud to sign your petition to nominate you.
I was proud to get some petitions from you. That's cool.
Right on. It wasn't a hard thing. It wasn't a hard thing at all. It really wasn't. So we've talked a little bit about your background already, and of course, always the first question that we have to ask Joey, right, is, what the heck are you doing running for office? Why do you want to do this thing? Right?
You know, and the first part is, I really, like, people were saying, well, you could run for school board last year. And I said, well, I want to find a candidate who's probably the good candidate. And so I was the one who approached Joe Souza to run for the school board, and he did it. And
good candidate.
Yeah, he was a good guy. I don't know what happened, but anyway. So then, because I'm not looking for a spotlight here. I'm just trying to do what I think is right.
Sure.
And when you don't see anybody, we've got 5 offices that never got anybody to sign up for them, right?
Yeah.
33, 35. These are House seats. House seat 33, 35. Almost had somebody in 37 and 52. So there were 4 House seats with nobody running, and 37 Senate.
I mean, no Republicans running.
No Republicans. All the incumbents are all going to get elected straight up. Wow. So there's no challenge. So I said, well, I got to do something. I just can't. I can't take Steinborn. I just can't take him. I'm sorry. Maybe this is the wrong publication to be telling that.
No, this is perfect. We want it's all campaign, all Dave Tofsted campaign.
I mean, you look at his career, and he's been with the New Mexico Wilderness Alliance, and basically they were started by this guy John Foreman, and John Foreman back in the 70s was over in like Arizona spiking trees and destroying logging equipment, and as part of Earth First and Earth Liberation Front. And then they said, well, what we need is somebody who looks like it makes it look more reasonable to be an environmental extremist. So then he starts the Mexico Wilderness Alliance. And he hires in my former opponent, Nathan Small, and he also hires in Jeff Steinborn.
So is this still the 70s?
No, this is the 80s when the Wilderness Alliance started. And so they've been going now for 40 years almost. But even though the tactics have changed, the objectives have not. They're still trying to get rid of logging and the oil industry and mining and ranching. And so Steinborn says, well, I spent 10 years to get rid of all this, to turn the Potrillo Range into a wilderness area where there's no ranching out there anymore. And so there's ranchers who were out there who were keeping the area, but you can't take care of the watering holes, because you can't get your equipment out to there because there's no vehicular traffic allowed. So
wow.
I just said, I've got to do something, and that's why I'm running. But there's things, we're 51st in education.
Yep.
How does that happen? Because we're behind 49 other states plus the District of Columbia. And now there's these rules that are where parental rights are sort of being trampled by these rules. They're keeping parents in the dark, so you don't know what's happened with your kids in schools. And this is not right. It's just not right.
Those 6 bad laws and the referendums, and I'm hoping, hopefully next week we'll sit down there.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And the red flag bill. The red flag bill is, when you look at the 4th Amendment to the Constitution, you're not allowed to just take somebody's property. But when you confiscate their guns with no trial, and where you don't get a lawyer, you don't get to challenge the witnesses or their statements, because you can find I won't go too deep into that, but But look, you can find arguments you can find a reason for seizing your property, but what is reasonable? It's reasonable because you have a defense lawyer who can challenge the veracity of witnesses. When there's no defense lawyer, then it's just a kangaroo court, basically.
Dave, I'd like to explore, especially because the dynamic here, New Mexico is a blue state, but we have a lot of people who are very 2A. There's a lot of Democrats too. They care about their Second Amendment rights. And also found out before the show, I didn't know that Joey has a legal assistant background too. So he can jump in here as well.
Yeah.
But that it just surprises me so much. And it's a right. It's our right to carry our guns.
Right. But there weren't cars or trucks or SUVs back in the 1700s when they wrote the Constitution, and you would think that is a right to choose what you want to drive around. But now they're trying to say by 2035 you will not be able to buy a non-battery electric vehicle. And that is not liberal anymore. That liberal is where you get to choose what you want to do. Right? If I want to buy a gas guzzler car, that's one thing. If I want to buy an electric guzzler car, that's we don't call it guzzler car, but that's what it does. It guzzles electricity, right? Yeah. And the thing is, they say, well, we're going to be at 50% of our power is going to be generated by the solar and wind by 2030. Well, okay, that's true. Okay, fine, you say that. But now, how are you going to both double the requirement for everybody's got an electric car, so now they're going to need to have twice as much electricity in the system, plus you're going to go to 50% solar and wind. It is an unworkable proposal, and I don't see where they're using reasonable choices, or they're offering us reasonable choices. That's where I'm coming from.
So you'll be able to fight that, because that's been such a big deal here in New Mexico, right?
Right. And I think you coming from energy background, you can probably understand it more than anybody, right? And
I mean, I was an electrical engineer, so
explain it.
And we had to take a test where you had to show you knew something about how power works.
So you're the man to kind of show and take that charge and take that lead for us, I think.
And meanwhile, you look at who all are representing us in the state Senate and the state House.
Right.
A lot of them are, they have these, let's just say, liberal arts backgrounds, or they've got a teaching degree. Nothing against teachers or people with liberal arts backgrounds, but if you haven't taken the hard sciences, then how is it that you're qualified to make the decisions for everybody else in the state based on your background?
And not even, it appears sometimes, because you can't know everything about everything, but be willing to be educated about it. And listen to some facts and someone who maybe knows a thing or two about what you're trying to vote on. Hello.
And then meanwhile, they're saying, I'm an extremist. That's the secret.
That's right. You're right-wing extremist.
That's what they did. That's what they did the first time I ran. It was like, oh my God, we can't have Dave Tofsted out there. Well, look, I try to base everything I do on facts. All right, I try. You try.
You try. Sometimes it's opinion, though. I mean, you've been doing this a while.
Yeah.
You've been following politics. So why do you believe that have you always been a conservative Republican?
Well, my grandfather was he was a big Civil War fan. I'm sure that there were Civil War type people we were from Pennsylvania, so he was really into the Gettysburg Battle, but he was in the Union League in Philadelphia. So the one side of my family was always conservative. That's my mom's side. My dad's side, my grandfather and my dad were both Democrats into the 50s, and so then my dad came home to Wisconsin to visit his dad, and he's like, knocking President Eisenhower, and his dad says, "Oh, what are you doing knocking our president?" And Dad's like, "You mean you're a Republican now?" And so at that point, then my dad became a Republican, and so our family was always Republican from me, but my wife is a Democrat. My ex-wife is a Democrat. My one kid is a Democrat. So it's like,
Boy, full disclosure here, Dave.
I know. I'm sorry. It's like it's.
Is she still going to vote for you?
I hope so. Yeah.
Fingers crossed.
She's like, "Why are you running?" I don't know, but you gotta say, I hope I can win over a bunch of Democrats, because what they're trying to do is take away our way of life in this state.
Yeah.
And everybody's like, "Oh yeah, everything's gonna be bond." Well, no, maybe it won't be bond. They said that about a lot of things. They can't possibly do this, but maybe they will, and maybe that's the objective. They're just gonna ram it through like the logo, but a lot worse. And how are they going to get the 50% power? They're not really using 50% solar and wind. They're generating it here, and then they're selling it to every other state. It's shipped out, but it's never used here. Why? Because it's too faulty. It turns on and off and on and off, and you can't control it. Yeah. Just like today, it's cloudy outside, so you got sun, then you got no sun. So how do you regulate the power in that case?
Wow.
You really can't.
Wow.
Yep.
Well, just a reminder, I'm Alice Lara, and here co-hosting the Chips and Salsa New Mexico show with
Joey Garza.
Hi. Doing a great job, I might add.
Thank you. Thanks, guys,
very
for having
much.
me.
And I'm Dave Tofsted.
We're talking to, I was just going to say, we're talking to Dave Tofsted.
Yeah.
He's running for New Mexico State Senate, District number 36. I also want to ask you, and then I'm going to toss it to Joey, but I'm sure that you have certain committees that you want to work on. New Mexico, I think 1 year they'll have 1 month they stay in session. The next year it's 2 months. It's really short legislature. The governor, I think, can call a special session. I haven't seen that happen. I've only been here back 2 years, though. So what are your intentions? What kind of committees would you like to be on? What kind of legislation are you thinking about driving?
Oh, wow. Well, definitely Energy and Natural Resources Committee. And if I could, the Education Committee, but because I have done tutoring, and I've seen where I've taken a couple of students, not that I've had a lot of tutoring opportunities, but I've taken a student from getting D's to getting B's or A's within just a matter of like 2 or 3 weeks. I helped
Wow.
I helped one guy over at the university who was having problems in his math. Just one session, and he never came back. Wow. So it's not that hard if you can take the time to tutor people, and maybe that's what we need. Yeah. When I first left federal service in 2017. I said, well, I want to go over here to Mayfield High and see if I can do some tutoring. Well, one of the ladies there said, "Hey, you see that boy in the back? Yeah, he can't read. He was in 9th grade.
Is it high school? Can't read?
Yeah, can't read.
Oh my gosh.
But of course, there's nothing you can do for people in the 9th grade because there's no remedial reading for anybody once they get beyond a certain point. Right. Why do they get to that point? Because it's social promotion. We can't. And this was something that Governor Martinez was trying to deal with. Wow. She said, we need to get them reading by age 3rd grade. And what happened? They basically stonewalled her. And so now we just got this system where it just automatically promoting them, whether they know the material or not.
What a disservice. No wonder number 51 in the nation.
And well, I point to the Common Core, which came under Obama, and it's just been foisted on all the states, and it's a poor system. Yeah, I just don't think it's the best system for us, especially.
Yeah. Well, I think it's great that you're attacking that energy and education role because, like we said, we're last in the country in education, and if you can understand it on a different perspective, right, and kind of switch the narrative of things and go in a different direction, I think we might come out of this a little bit, right?
Yeah,
I think that's great.
To figure it out.
Yeah.
The other thing is, what's happened is, if you remember, there was the Yazzie Martinez, or some people call it Martinez Yazzie ruling.
Yep.
And I read that ruling, and what was in it? It said that you look at the metrics, you look at the graduation rates, you look at the standard test scores,
test scores,
and just competency compared to other states, and those are the metrics you're trying to meet. And so, what has the legislature and the governor done to help those students? I don't think they've. What they're trying to do is they're trying to say, well, what we want to have is culturally and linguistically responsive education.
Yeah.
But that's just turning them into social justice warriors.
So that's their priority.
That's their priority, and that's their solution.
Right.
But it's not really working for the students because they want to learn.
Yeah. And their kids are out there that do want to learn, that aren't getting the proper guidance, attention that they need. 100%.
And in our CCIA meeting, Concerned Conservatives in Action, I asked the one lady, I said, well, what are they doing for in-school detention or in-school suspension? They're not really dealing with that properly, because then they're just turning these kids over who are problems in the classroom right back into the class, and so then everybody's disrupted.
Yeah.
Everybody in the classroom is being disrupted.
Yep.
Whereas if you take the problem ones out of the class and keep them out, then maybe the rest of the students can learn something.
Yep.
Yeah, that's a big issue.
Yep.
There's so many things that you need to address, and once you get in there, I just keep thinking, I pretend that I'm you, and there's going to be so many things that you're going to want to do. You have to get
So
done.
many things I want to say.
You probably have just like a whole list. You're going to have to prioritize. You're going to have to hope also, because most likely it'll still be a Democratic legislature. I hope not. Miracles could happen, and you may not get on the committees that you want to get on. And how will you're going to have to still work with them, but try to get things done. What are you thinking in that respect? How you can handle it? I mean, that's kind of a hard question.
Well,
that's a good question.
there are people who are at the legislature on our side who are pretty gifted in terms of the gifts of gab, and they manage to. You can try to tie things up, but if we can get a few more people on board in the Senate, then you change the relative weight of the different committees. So that's a step in the right direction. So then you can ask the right questions, and you can also try and bring to light what's going on at the legislature, and raise these issues outside the legislature to where you call question of these people, and you bring it as an issue before the public. Because the funny thing is, I don't think that a lot of the public is aware of a lot of these issues. Yeah. They're just simply not being told, or I don't know. I listened to talk radio for years, but what happens is it's only talking about national issues. It's never talking about the local issues.
And that's one of the reasons that I wanted to do the show and start the New Mexico version here, because we had it in Arizona. Yeah. Because there's virtually nothing here, especially in local Las Cruces.
Nothing.
And so how can people stay informed? Our paper, the Sun News, I won't even talk about that. Yeah. At least the Bulletin has some good content.
You're absolutely right on that. I think, Las Cruces doesn't even have a news station. Right?
We don't do it?
Yeah, no.
Does the university carry WG?
Well, it used to.
KLB used to have local content, but it's so hard because you got to find somebody who's going to pay for it.
Yeah.
And
sad.
Yeah, so we get everything through El Paso, or even I think Sun News is their parent company is like
USA
Yeah,
Today,
yeah,
right?
USA Today.
USA
Yeah,
Today,
yeah.
yeah.
So I think even their publications, there's like a 2 or 3 day grace period before they can actually publicize something before it gets approved through their higher ups until we get to see it. So I think we talk about this in the office all the time. The biggest news source is Facebook Las Cruces Community Watch because it shows
They
you
have
everything.
a lot of. You're right. They have a lot of content.
They really do.
Absolutely right. They need to maybe come and do a podcast.
Yeah, for sure.
If you're watching, Joey and Haley
Holler at
and
us.
Daniel can set you up, man.
Yeah,
Right?
Okay.
for sure.
Because the more information, the better. And,
Yeah.
You know, and once you get in there, Dave, okay, I'm looking ahead into the future.
Yeah.
But all the candidates with our candidate conversations, we would love to have you guys come
Yeah.
back on a regular basis. You know, maybe you're going to be on the video because you'll be in Santa Fe.
Right.
And just let us know what's going on so people can
Yeah,
support
keep
you.
people informed.
Well, I don't have a website yet, but I got one on GoDaddy. It's davetofsted.com. And so you got my name there. So you can just,
Can they
it ought to
write
be
you a
up.
check?
I'm going to have, yeah. Well, we'll have the address to send the check on the website. But
Okay.
yeah.
Do you have an email? Would you like to give out an email or anything if somebody wants to talk to you directly?
Just dtofsted@gmail.com. And if you want to send me a check to P.O. Box 703, Las Cruces 88004, you can go and do that. That'd be great.
Simple enough.
Because these campaigns are way expensive.
Yeah.
I mean, the Democrat candidates, they've got like 200 to 230 to maybe 300 grand sitting in their accounts.
Wow.
Man, for
I
each
know.
campaign?
Yeah.
And New Mexico, I just want to let you guys know, because I know a lot of you from Arizona watch. Arizona's got about 7 million people,
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
I think Maricopa County itself is about 4.5 million.
Yeah.
New Mexico is 2-point-something million. We're
Yeah,
under
2
3
million.
million.
Right. And half of them are in Albuquerque.
Yeah. So if you're watching from Arizona, you're like, man, that Dave seems like a great guy. Send him $20.
Yeah.
What's it going to hurt? It's going to help
Yeah.
conservatism in the Southwest overall.
Well, and see, what's happened here is that billionaire leftists like Tom Steyer, like George Soros, they're coming in. Tom Steyer, by the way, made a lot of his money in coal, and now he's a big environmentalist.
Now he's
And
anti-coal.
and now he's anti-coal, just like Al Gore was pro-coal before he was anti-coal. And so think about it. Think about this. So you've got $200,000 per campaign times 70 legislators is what? That's $14 million. For $14 million, you can buy the New Mexico legislature.
Yeah.
You could buy the
He
House
said it.
for $14 million, and then you got 42 over in the Senate. So you can, for less than $30 million, you can buy a legislature. And that's the scary thing, is we haven't got really a citizen legislature anymore. We've got you basically got a lobbyist legislature, right?
Yep.
And if we want to talk about Jeff Steinborn, we've got a lobbyist legislator, senator, who goes to Santa Fe. He argues for money for the film industry, and then he's the owner of Film Las Cruces.
Yeah.
So
that's convenient.
So and there's been a complaint, an ethics complaint, argued to the state, and they because it's all Democrats, they just swept it under the carpet.
Man, see, I get such an education. I'm still learning
There's
New
some-
Mexico.
Yeah.
Wow.
There's
It's
some
like,
crazy stuff.
we don't know when they got the money. Well, he's been in power since 2010, so you would think that he might have had a vote along the way where he was actually arguing for that, and then he was also, working for New Mexico Wilderness Alliance, and then he gets this big Organ Mountains Desert Peak. I have nothing against the Organ Mountains.
We love Organ Mountains.
We love
Organ Mountain production.
Yep.
That was about 50,000 acres, right? 50,000 acres up in the Organ Mountains. The other 350,000 acres was Las Uvas to the north and the Potrillos to the south.
Wow.
And so there's like 200,000 acres down to the south that are cut off.
Those are
to
that mountain
economic-
range. I never know what it is.
Yep.
Right.
The
Okay.
mountains you've never gone to because nobody goes there.
Yeah. Nobody. Yeah.
Nobody goes to see the cinder cones. How many stories have you seen in the Sun News where they got a picture of the cinder cones? None. Because nobody goes.
But you can go out there,
goes
right? Could I go out there and check it out? Or
you
is it
could-
locked up?
Well, there's like a roads that go in a few miles into the middle of
Yeah.
it.
Wow. That's
Yeah.
But
blows my mind.
and we used to be able to drive straight out from the Mesilla Valley Dam all the way to Aden Crater.
Yep.
And you could go park right next to the crater and go look out there, but I bet you can't do
Yeah, you
that.
can't do that anymore.
No.
No. They stopped that.
Yeah.
So just real quick, and this is to educate me. So in Arizona, it was pretty easy because we still have 30 districts. Each district has 2 House representatives and 1 state senator. New Mexico is different, and I've been trying to
Completely
figure
different.
out. And so we have, it's the legislature there is, you have half the number of senates in
Seats,
the
yeah.
Senate, right? And then your House is twice as many. Now, explain New Mexico to me in 30 seconds.
So
Because I just did Arizona, right? In 30
there's
seconds.
70 House seats, there's
Okay.
42 Senate seats, and so in District 36, for example, there are pieces of House seats 33, 35, 36, 37, 39, and 38.
Wow.
So we've got 6
Wow.
different House seats inside just our 1 Senate seat. And it's like that everywhere. There's little pieces of House seats that are all overlapping, and it's a mess.
I had thought they made an error when I re-registered when I moved, because all of a sudden I found myself House 37, State 36. I'm like, what?
yeah.
They're different. How could that be? Because I was used to Arizona.
Right.
And that's not even 70 to 42. It's not even like
No.
2 to 1 either. Do they
It's
change that, or is it
they're both
always that
divisible
way?
by 7? or
Oh, is that the
14.
key?
I don't know.
Is that the key? Wow. Okay, so
Don't
we're down
know.
to our last few minutes. Joey, I'm going to give you go ahead and you have a question, and then we'll let him finish up.
Yeah, no, I thought you hit on a lot of great points. I love the education
We need to
aspect
get
of that,
fixed.
because I think that is huge for our future here in New Mexico. So salute you for that. Anything that we can help, if we can help get you on the show, if we can get you a podcast or get you out there more to the people, let's do it. And I'm here for whatever you need. Okay.
I really
Yeah,
appreciate
yeah,
it.
yeah. Thank you.
Thank
That's
you.
awesome. That's awesome. Really do appreciate it. And out there too, if you're running for office,
Yeah.
these guys have really good services. They can run little shorts for you and video things, and that's one great thing about the fact that what you guys do.
Right.
And I don't even know if New Mexico has that anymore. I'm sure there are people, but they might want to charge you outrageous amounts of
Yeah,
money.
and we're pretty reasonable, right? I mean,
Yeah,
I don't
absolutely.
think we charge too crazy, and we get everything out there. If you've seen our food videos, I mean, we share it everywhere. We flood the community with it, and I'm sure they're sick of seeing my faces, but that's what we do. So if you want to get, on the podcast and you want to get out there, holler at us, and we can put you out there and flood you, so people are aware and they are educated, and we get people in the know, right?
Right.
Cool.
Absolutely. So I want you to take a few minutes, and I'm so excited because I think we have a pretty good group of Republicans. When I first moved back to New Mexico and I started reconnecting, a lot of my friends who I know are conservative, maybe even more conservative than I am, they were still registered with a big D.
Yeah.
But one of the reasons they would tell me is, well, we really don't have Republicans to vote for, so they kind of just kept that party.
Right.
Not that they wouldn't vote for them, they just have to have someone, like you illustrated how many offices don't have a Republican candidate. So I'm excited whenever we do have someone. We're going to continue to highlight it in our candidate conversations here on the Chips and Salsa Show, New Mexico. But I want you to take a few minutes, Dave, and kind of give like a finishing statement of your campaign, how people can help you to do this. And I'm just really excited that you're here today. So, microphone is yours, sir.
Well, the main thing I want to do is get the word out about the how our rights are being basically trampled. I'm sorry to say, and we need to ask for our rights back, and the way to do that is through your vote, and we need to get both Republicans, 80-90% of Republicans to vote, and we need to get a lot more independents to vote, and that's the main thing. Is in this campaign, if you're an independent and you like your car, you like your truck, you like your SUV, you're not going to be able to keep it. That's what they're doing. It's like the frog in the boiling water. So it doesn't seem like it's too much right now. It doesn't seem like it's really bad with the energy issues. They're having blackouts in California. Oh, no, that can't possibly happen here. It will happen here if we go to 80% solar and wind. And meanwhile, we're going to cut ourselves off from Palo Verde, which provides 50% of our power is coming from Palo Verde.
Wow.
And they're saying, no, only 20% can come from anything other than renewable sources. Wow. So that and the vehicles and all your other rights. I mean, they're going to be trying to basically tailor our system from being a free and where people get to make their own choices into one where they're telling you everything you have to do. And I've seen it happening, and I don't like it. Let's put it that way. And all I can do is just air my views and get some. If we could get 200 Republicans out there running down the streets and basically telling their neighbors what is happening in this state, get them out to say to the people on their block or across town, everybody you know, to let them know what is happening. And like I said, this is the army of the willing. And
I like that, Dave.
I was the Republican Party chair in 2020, and we tried to get people out to vote. It was very difficult then. Be glad that we're not in the middle of COVID right now, because if you thought you couldn't get out 4 years ago, now you can.
Yep.
And we need your support. We need you to help us get our message out.
Very good point. And, I really wanted Joey to co-host because I'm a boomer, you're a millennial, and the millennials are, man, every time I run across so many, and you guys are paying attention.
Yeah. I think a lot of our generation, we have to now, right? Where a lot of us are getting to a little bit older where, I don't have kids, but a lot of, my generation, we have kids growing up and we need to be involved. We need to know what's going on. And we just can't be left out in the dark anymore. We can't be ignorant to the issues that are happening and going on.
And if you're coming up and you're just out of high school or just out of college, you may be younger than you, but they're concerned too with what's happening.
Right. I think a lot of people from a lot of the different, younger generations are waking up and realizing what's going on.
That's great background music for what he said.
Yeah.
The timing was good, Dave.
I know, just at the wrong time. It's like, whoops.
But also having you on as a millennial, that's even a little closer, as Dave says, to that younger generation.
Yeah.
And even they can't kind of ignore it, because when we have it out there, when we have shows and podcasts like this, you have your own podcast too, and you can talk about it, and people can actually know about it. Because even the referendums, we're out there in the referendums. These are laws that passed. 95% of the people that we talked to, they had no idea.
Yeah.
They had no idea what was going on.
Because it's not being told to them, so they can do everything under the cover of, it's just not something that you're going to think about.
Yeah.
Because they don't want you to think about it, right?
Yeah, that's right.
They don't want you to know about what's going on.
That's right. So we got to bring it to light.
And this whole thing about the parental rights and what's going on in the schools, it's not right. It's not right. But you don't know unless you've been told, and they don't want to keep you informed.
Yeah.
It's very frightening. And once the poor parents find out, the parents have a hard enough job, even if everything's perfect in their life. It's a two-parent family, they're making enough money. Sure. They still got a lot of things to worry about. And then to put these crazy laws in front of them that a Democrat, I'm going to call it a Democrat legislature here in New Mexico passed, because Republicans did not vote for this.
No,
as far as I know, I don't know any that voted for it. Yeah. And they are responsible. So I feel like it's my duty, our duty here on the show, to let you guys know the truth. If we're wrong about anything, you want challenge, please do challenge us. I'd love to be wrong about some of this stuff. Wouldn't you, Joey?
Yeah, of course.
I'd love to be wrong too, but when you got these health clinics in the schools, when the teachers have a gag order, so they can't tell can't tell the parents what their kid is doing. When you've got a transgender changing closet over at Centennial High.
And that is really happening.
The
publication
that's been put out, those books.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, the books we talk about.
And then these invasive questionnaires that they're asking the kids.
And then, like I always talk about on the show, this is a localized show. We broadcast live not live, it's state, for Las Cruces, New Mexico. And we're a city of 115,000. The county's about 200,000. Yeah. But all these issues we talk about every week, they're nationwide. They're in your community, whether you like it or not. There probably is some, one, two, maybe all of them are there.
And they're promoting these policies at the state level, but they're promoting, it's the same policies getting promoted in every state, right?
Yep.
Right.
The left is very effective.
It's really all designed to change our way of life.
Yeah. Absolutely. Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, they've been very good at it. But you know what? It's time to just get engaged again.
Yeah.
That's all we can say.
Just
get engaged.
Say enough. Basta.
Yeah, basta.
Basta.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. Very, very true. I think we're just about at the end. Do you have any closing comments? I appreciate you so much being on the show today, Joey.
Thank you guys again for having me. I appreciate it. I appreciate being here and talking to you guys about everything going on, and hopefully we can be here and pop in every now and again and chat with you guys and just keep it going. So thank you all. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. We should have like a segment like Jabs with Joey or something like that.
That'd be cool.
Okay, on today's show, Joey says.
For sure.
Right? And we hope so. This is kind of the November. Let's see, we have a primary, which you're...
You got like 7 months.
7 months.
7 months to make a difference.
Good deal. Yeah. So we'll hope you come back in between then, give us an update, and see what you got going on. We do that. We're going to continue the candidate conversation. I don't have anyone particularly booked for next week. I'm thinking about maybe highlighting the referendums, because we're doing that. We're still gathering signatures.
Yeah, we need those signatures. Yeah.
Very important. If you haven't done that, those are these 6 bad laws, and we're trying to get signatures, and that way in November, when we have the election, the whole New Mexico population of voters can say yay or nay to them. And we're hoping, of course, they say no. So.
And of course, the state is going to try to argue you can't get them on the ballot. Yeah. But that's another issue.
That's going to be,
We've got to battle them on that.
So we'll always have plenty of content here, I think, to talk about.
Oh, yeah.
Always. Not a problem. Sure. All right, well, I think that's going to do it for another segment of the Chips and Salsa Show New Mexico. My name is Alice Lara, and today we've had the wonderful fortune of being also a co-host.
Joey Garza.
He's owner of Organ Mountain Productions. Yeah. And our great guest and candidate, Mr. David Tofsted, who's running for New Mexico Senate District Number 36. So thank you, everybody. We appreciate it. You hope you tune in again.
Thank you for having me.
You betcha. Tell your friends about us. And until next time, the Chips and Salsa Show, New Mexico. Love you guys.
See you later, y'all.